Hi everybody, my name is Christian Baker and I'm here in the beautiful Old Swamp River of Weymouth, Massachusetts. Let's go see what trees we can find. First tree on agenda is a really special tree to me. It's one of my favorite trees of all time, and it is this tree right here, the American sycamore, Platanus occidentalis. American sycamore is just, it's such a cool tree. It's probably my second or third favorite tree, right behind American chestnut, and I just love how cool its bark looks as you go up the tree. It's got a cool array of camouflage patterns, like whites, greens, yellows, and like look at these leaves. They're just so cool. This one's like the size of my head, and I'm just really surprised how it even got out here because, you know, I mean, they grow in wet areas along streams and stuff, but like this is the only one I found out here. I'm surprised to see it kind of in this area. I mean, it's native to Weymouth and this part of Massachusetts, but not super common, especially in the wild. So pretty cool find out here. Another cool find from the sycamore. I mean, just look how cool this bark is when it peels off. It's so cool how it just has all these cool colors. I really love it. American sycamore, such a cool tree. Unfortunately, many of our ash trees in this area have been hit pretty hard by emerald ash borer. And it's really unfortunate because some of these trees were once quite beautiful, but as you can see now, they have all these epicormic sprouts all along the base of them. They're stressed out and they're just trying to survive in any means they can. This green ash here has a lot of woodpecker damage all around the base of the trunk because the woodpeckers are trying to get at the emerald ash borer insects that are inside of the bark. If we come down here, this D-shaped hole was actually where an emerald ash borer bored out of the tree, and they leave this D-shaped hole when they exit. So that's a really common sign that you'll find on a lot of these impacted ash trees, and all of these epicormic sprouts coming off as well just tell how stressed this tree is and that it's really on its last leg, unfortunately. This green ash here is really magnificent, or at least was really magnificent. Quite a large diameter, but unfortunately not much left up top. And you can even see that some of the bark is blonding, which is a result of emerald ash borer. These kind of pale strips here. You can see my finger pointing to. Really unfortunate. These trees used to be so beautiful. Another tree being impacted by invasive pests is the American elm. And this one here is actually quite special because of how big it is. Usually they don't get much above 10 inches in diameter before they succumb to Dutch elm disease, which is an invasive pathogen that kills many elm trees. Most of the elm trees that were once growing in the eastern United States have all died, but there's hope that these guys will be able to come back. So I'm gonna take a measurement of how large this guy is, because if it's over 18 inches, I can submit it to this database where they're collecting information for surviving elm trees that are over 18 inches in diameter. I just measured this guy, and it's only around 15 inches in diameter, but still pretty good sign that this guy might be resistant to Dutch elm disease, or another sign that it hasn't spread around this area in quite a while. But this tree, really special, and hopefully it can keep growing, and I'll keep coming back to it in years to see how it's doing. I'm here with another American elm, but this time this one is much smaller. When American elm is young, if you press it into its bark, it's very spongy, very squishy. That's one way you can tell that's an American elm. And let me see if I can find a chunk of bark to kind of rip and try to get the look in. It kind of has this, kind of hard to see on the camera, and that's not really a good example here. If you take a look at like the cross section of it, it kind of goes to brown to white to brown again, and it kind of looks like an ice cream sandwich if you look at it in a certain way. That's how I learned to identify American elm in dendrology last year. It's pretty cool. I like to just go around and squish the bark of these elm trees. Another really cool tree that I found is black cherry. This one is on its last leg. It's pretty hollow on the inside, but still alive up there, you can see, but its bark, if I come around to this side here, very looks like potato chips, kind of. Black cherry bark has that characteristic to it. Pretty cool stuff. Black cherry is a cool tree. I'm back with another little example of a black cherry tree. This guy here, it's a much smaller tree. You definitely see more of the black potato chip looking bark, which is very common of these young black cherry trees. These guys are pretty shade intolerant, so it'll shoot its way up into the overstory, where it'll be there for 70 to 100 years, and then it'll die. These guys, super cool. The wood is really cool as well. People used to steal other people's cherry trees and cut them down for profit. Cool fact. Yellow birch is super common throughout this landscape, and it is really such a beautiful tree. I mean, just look at this bark, this golden yellow bark just kind of slowly peeling off. Really such a beautiful tree when it's in this younger stage like this. Looking at the base, some yellow birch trees are grown on nurse logs. So when a log, I wonder if I could find one, but sometimes when a log falls down in a forest, kind of goes vertical like this, and then the seeds of yellow birch kind of blow in and they go onto the log, which then they sprout up from the log. This is a good example over here. Let's see. This is some red maple over here. You kind of see how their roots are kind of like not like underground, they're kind of out and exposed. That's kind of what a nurse log is like. Red maple is another very common species that'll nurse log. These ones are kind of bent up like this. Oh, look at this. This is a huge grapevine over here, just kind of hanging around. Wow, look at that thing go up into the trees. But yeah, nurse logs. I think these might actually be from a nurse log, from a tree that fell that direction. And they grow up and they kind of grow their roots around the log. And then they kind of have these cool stilted roots. I'll throw in a picture, or I'll come back if I can find a good example of it. But I think that might be a nurse log, or these red maple are just kind of growing they're growing funky like on this little raised area. It's all swampy around here, so they can't grow in that, but they can grow in that little raised area. Pretty cool stuff. Not every single ash tree is doing as bad as the others. This one still has a pretty decent canopy of twigs up there. Don't know if they're alive still because it's the winter time. Same with that one over there. Pretty decently full canopy. Not many epicormic sprouts along the trunk. So what happens is that some of the emerald ash borer, they go from tree to tree, but they don't like get every single tree at the same time. So it's kind of sporadic in how the outbreaks happen in an area. This one either could be more resistant to them, which would be a lingering ash, which is good to document, or it's just not been impacted by the emerald ash borer yet. So only time will tell, because most of the trees in here, that one's actually doing pretty good too. But there's some patches that are like fully dead and some that are kind of doing all right. So only time will tell. I reached a little bit of a dry spot in the land, and what's growing behind me is a northern red oak, and off to its side an eastern white pine. These are two trees that are super common throughout Massachusetts, and they don't really like getting their feet wet, so that's why they're growing on this little bit drier site. What else? I'm sure I can find some other cool trees that like to grow on more dry soils, so keep you guys updated and see what I find. Another one of our native oaks is right here. This is black oak. You can really tell it's a black oak just because of its alligator-like, really small blocky bark on the lower stem. This guy, another native, one of our native red oaks, pretty common around this part of Massachusetts, but right over there is some northern red oak, and then right across we got some black oak. Walking along the trail currently, and came to this pretty cool spot over here. It's a lot more of a wetland than it is kind of a swamp. Like, look at all these reeds in there. Trees much smaller around this area. Either that's because the soil is not that great, or it's kind of too wet for them to really grow that big. But there's some pretty cool stuff in here still. There are some small elms, some small red maples, some small ash that are all doing okay over here. This one's, I think it's a dead elm. It's decomposing pretty well. It's pretty cool stuff over here. Pretty cool area, just kind of in the middle of this swampy wetland area. It's almost December, but this tree still has foliage. It's not really a tree, it's more of a shrub, but this is burning bush, and I hate burning bush because it's invasive. These guys are really bad, and they can really spread throughout a woodland quite quick and really dominate the understory, preventing natural regeneration from native species. It's quite common out here. I've seen it quite a lot, but hoping that I don't really find too many more invasives, because overall, not too bad. Found another little cluster of pretty mature American elm. I wouldn't measure it except this growing alongside. These vines here are from poison ivy, and it's honestly super common in this area back here. So you really need to watch out, because like, look how big some of these things can get. They just kind of go up the tree and they don't let go, and they keep on going. But poison ivy is super common in wetland areas like this. These poor green ash here have so many bore holes. Like, look at all of these. There's more than I can count. They're just everywhere. These trees have been absolutely decimated. Their crowns looking very sparse, and these things might even be dead. Really unfortunate. One tree that wherever I go, I can never escape it, is red maple. This guy here, those guys there, those guys over there. I feel like wherever I go and look at trees, red maple is always a component of that forest. For that reason, I'm kind of bored of it. I don't really like it that much anymore. Red maple, it grows everywhere. It can grow in these swampy areas. It can grow on the sandiest soils you've ever seen. It grows all the way up into Canada, all the way down to Florida. These guys are everywhere, but the foliage is quite nice, and they are quite pretty. Another reason why I don't like red maple is Exhibit A here. Look how many damn stems there are coming off that one dead red maple tree. When trying to calculate the DBH for these guys and each one's height, you can see how it can get a little bit annoying, especially when they're much larger and they're like squeezing together. Red maple, very prolific stump spreader. So what that is doing there, you can kind of see where there used to be one tree and then now there's like 10 of them. So red maple, pretty annoying when it comes to suckering. That's another reason I don't like it. Got an example of some more mature red maple here. These guys also grew from a stump in the ground. So this is kind of what that little patch of red maple would look like given 80-ish, 60 to 80 years, I'd say. You won't find any sugar maple out in this area. They do not like it out here. Some more around here. Pretty cool tree, but pretty annoying one. You get all these stump sprouts everywhere. Some pretty cool holes as well. Wonder if anything lives in there. There we go. Red maple, Acer rubrum. If you thought poison ivy was bad, look how big some of these thorns get. These blackberry and raspberry brambles are everywhere throughout here, and I feel like I'm always getting cut up by them when I least expect. Gotta watch out for those guys too. It's not often I find a tree that I can't really identify just by the bark. But this one behind me is one that took me a little bit to figure out what it was. Luckily, I brought along these bad boys, and there were a few leaves at the top of the tree left, and I determined, or at least I think, it's a black willow. Which makes sense. It's a pretty wet area if you just look around here. Look at all that. Swamp. Black willow likes to grow in these kind of swampy areas, so upon further inspection, it makes sense that that is what it is. Looks pretty kind of scraggly up top as well, which makes sense. Black willow don't really live for that long of a time. So pretty cool find out here, black willow. This guy here kind of looks like butternut in a way, but it's actually a willow tree, and I don't think it's black willow. I think it's Bebb's willow, which is a new kind of tree for me to discover out here, but they're kind of all throughout this kind of swampy area, these little guys that are kind of growing up in the most random places. But I've used a few identification apps because I wasn't really sure what it was, but I think that's what these guys are. Pretty cool. This little guy here is gray birch. It's like paper birch's younger and uglier brother. Very shade intolerant tree. It's kind of as big as it gets. I mean, I've seen ones much larger than this, but it doesn't really grow for very long at all. This guy will be dead pretty soon. There's gray birch for you. Got this cool kind of gray rough bark. Kind of looks like paper birch to the untrained eye. Oh my god, I almost touched one of these spikes right here. Jeez. Yeah, there we go, gray birch. So I turned around after exploring one path all the way down to where I can no longer explore to, and I'm back to the dry ridge. And behind me we got American beech. These guys aren't doing too great. They got beech bark disease, and a lot of them have beech leaf disease as well. It's hard to see in the winter time, but these guys aren't doing too well. Look at all these beech sprouts down here, and then like the beech tree will snap in half, and then all of these root suckers, or I guess these are stump suckers, will just come up in mass and just kind of try to cling on. But yeah, these guys aren't doing too well out here. Eastern hemlock, the most shade-tolerant tree in the United States. This guy here is pretty small, and that's probably because of these guys right here. All those little white spots is hemlock woolly adelgid. It's an invasive pest that is severely defoliating and killing our eastern hemlocks. So fortunately, all these guys around here are quite small, and who knows how long they have left, because once these guys get established, these guys, the trees can be dead in a few years. So really unfortunate that they're spreading throughout the United States. Luckily not up in Burlington yet. They might be limited by cold, but down here it's pretty warm, so hemlock woolly adelgid is pretty prevalent. Unfortunate. I wasn't sure if I'd find these guys in here, but we do have some black birch in here, which is a closely related brother to this guy, yellow birch. You see how the bark is more peeling on this yellow birch, but on this black birch here, very smooth. These lines here are lenticels, which were little dots when the tree was younger, but they expand outwards as the tree grows, and these help with oxygen exchange. So black birch, pretty cool tree, and I'm not surprised to find it here at all. Next on our list is this guy right here, white oak, or Quercus alba. White oak is distinguished from red oak because if I grab a leaf here and here, where is a white oak leaf? So the two different types of leaves. We have a white oak leaf here. You see how the tips here are smooth and rounded, but then on the red oaks here, the tips are pointed like that. So white oak as well, a lot more this kind of blocky type bark. Pretty cool looking trees though. Yeah, white oak. So seeing as all these ash around me are starting to die from emerald ash borer, what's going to take the place of them here? Well, a few different trees can really thrive in these conditions. We have a red maple. That thing will shoot up wherever there's light. American elm, the surviving American elm will spread their seed even more, and then that tree will become more prevalent here, which hopefully means maybe there will be a better chance that some genetically resistant American elm can resist the Dutch elm disease, and that this spot can be a pretty cool area for some cool elm regeneration. We got yellow birch, of course, that'll grow on the stumps and the logs of the dead green ash, and then we have swamp white oak, which I haven't found. Yeah, I know it's out here. I think I saw one on my walk in. I'm gonna go try to find one right now. Swamp white oak can take over some of those swampy spots, and then any resistant ash will also try to keep coming. There's some ash regen as well that'll keep spreading up. Yeah, there's some cool trees that can take the spot of green ash, but it does suck losing a tree like completely from the landscape, which has been seen time and time again. The American chestnut, American elm, and now the ash trees. Soon to be the beech trees. There's just oh my god, this sunlight glare is pretty bad. There's just so many things wrong with our forests, and we really have to breed resilience into them. Speaking of swamp white oak, here it is. I knew this one was here. I just had to look on the ground for these cool leaves. The back of the leaves are nice and kind of a lighter color than the front. This one is in the white oak family, so it's lobes, very smooth, very nice and smooth. These trees are super cool. This one looks a lot more kind of, step out over here, a lot more scraggly as you go up, but it's a really cool looking tree. The bark is super cool, and swamp white oak, there it is, Quercus bicolor. What a cool tree to grow in these swampy areas. Next up we have musclewood. I mean, just look at this thing. This thing is like, it looks like a mussel that's growing around this. It's such a cool tree. The bark is so cool, super cool to touch. Musclewood, it's in the beech, sorry, not the beech, the birch family. And these leaves here are from different little stems of musclewood, and they're held on later through winter in a process called marcescence, which just keeps the leaves on the tree for a little bit longer. You see that beech over there, which also holds on the leaves for a lot longer as well. And I can actually see beech leaf disease remnant, like the marks from it. So I'll try to find one of those leaves and show you guys. But here we have musclewood, such a cool tree. So I've walked over to the little beech tree that I pointed out, and it does not have any beech bark on it, which is nice, but unfortunately it does have beech leaf disease, which you kind of see these like dark bands, like right here and right there along the leaf veins. Yeah, beech leaf disease. It's an invasive nematode that is spread by, they don't really know yet how it's spread, but I think water, birds, and like really anything, wind, and it's spreading rapidly throughout the beech's population, and it kills them like up to like maximum 7 years is how long they have to live once they get it. No matter how healthy the beech tree is, this thing just defoliates them, sucks away all their energy, and they die pretty quick. So this guy, fortunately, might only have 2 to 3 years left. Especially goes after the younger beech trees, and it's really becoming a problem because, you know, beech trees, they can survive beech bark for a good long while, especially if it's a really old mature tree. Some of those beech trees I've seen out there are like probably 200 years old at this point. But with beech leaf disease, those things that are even resistant to beech bark, because I think 1 to 3% of beech trees are, it's not looking good for the American beech, and these guys will probably be wiped out from our landscape in the next coming years. I mean, where beech leaf disease is impacting it, because it might be stopped from like cold, but I don't really know yet. It's such a new disease that was first detected in 2011, so it's only been 14 years. It's really not a lot of time to study something like that. But yeah, marcescence, extremely common on the beech family, the Fagaceae, which also includes oaks, which just means these guys keep their leaves for a lot longer. I don't really know why musclewood keeps its leaves longer. I've seen like most of the musclewood, like there's one right there as well. I don't know why they keep their leaves long, because they're in the birch family. Yeah, not really 100% sure about that, but pretty cool process nonetheless. But unfortunately, beech leaf disease is something to really worry about. This guy's an even better example of musclewood. You can just see, kind of looks like veins popping out in these trees. It can get pretty large, kind of like this. This is kind of like the biggest size you really see, but it's such a cool tree nonetheless. Oh my god, look, oh, where's my hand? Look what it is. This is a shagbark hickory, and for obvious reasons, like look at how shaggy that bark is. That is so cool. I was not expecting to find one of these guys out in this kind of swamp area, but I mean, it makes sense. The ground here is a little bit more raised up, it's a little bit drier, so it makes sense that a hickory could find its way out here. Here's a small shagbark. Hasn't really started to shag its bark away yet, but if you look up the trunk of this tree, just look how cool that is. Shagbark hickory, my favorite hickory by far. Top 5 favorite tree for sure. Bats can even like nest under, or not really nest, but they can like live under and sleep under those folds in the bark. So super important tree for the landscape, and shagbark hickory, such a cool tree to find out here. Another way to tell if a tree is a birch are these little balls kind of hanging around there. Those are catkins. Those are the reproductive structures of these yellow birch here. That's where their seeds are stored, and that's where they will fly off to in the wind to colonize a new area. Found this on the ground. These are the catkins I was talking about earlier from yellow birch. These little fuzzy guys here, that's where all the seeds are stored and they get blown away. Pretty cool. Catkins. My number one enemy in the world. This is a Norway maple. And unfortunately, in Massachusetts, these guys are quite common to find out in the wild. It has this interlacing bark that does look pretty similar to the ash over there. But nope, these big red buds right here are Norway maple buds. And snap that guy off because I hate you. Yeah, Norway maple. Unfortunately, there are some out here that are growing, but let's hope that with all these ash dying, that Norway maple won't colonize their spots. They don't like getting their feet wet as much, so let's hope they stay to just this area. Some of the vines on these plants are just completely choking them out. Like, it's kind of insane how much damage these grapevines or bittersweet vines are doing. But this one here is an invasive Norway maple, so I'm glad you are dying, and I hope these vines constrict all the life out of this guy. Here in front of me looks like just a stick in the ground, but this is actually a young green ash seedling. These guys are really cute. You'll find them all kind of around, especially with all these ash trees around. Luckily, these guys will be spared from almond ash borer, but not for long. Once they get more mature, the insect will always be around here for now, just because we've introduced it, and they'll get killed, just like their brothers and sisters. It's really too bad. But hopefully, some of these might be resistant, but you never know. What I have here is a northern red oak seedling. This guy is still pretty small, only about maybe 4 feet tall, and it's almost above the browse height of deer, which are around this area. Now, deer are a huge problem for oak regeneration because when deer sees an oak like this, it says, "Oh my God, yummy, yummy snack." And unfortunately, deer browse is one of the main reasons why oaks are just not popping up in our landscape. So this thing is almost home free, to then start growing up into that canopy, where with the event of these ash dying, will probably spread up and hopefully become a nice big oak one day. But it does have this friend here, this yellow birch, that's trying to outcompete him, but we'll see how this guy can do. This is northern red oak, Quercus rubra. And right next to that red oak seedling, we have this even more baby seedling of an eastern white pine. This guy's tiny still, it's probably only a year or two old, but hopefully it'll have a chance to shoot up into that canopy when all these ash die. White pine is not browsed as much, but if it's grown in open conditions, the white pine weevil, which is a native insect, will come, lay its seeds in the topmost bud of these guys, which will cause it to split and grow multiple chunks, which you will see in many of the eastern white pine in our area. This guy, we'll see how he does. Oh, there's actually two. There's one right here and one right there. The squirrel must have buried some acorn seeds. Not acorn seeds, pine cone seeds over there. Got the oaks in my mind still. A tree I'm surprised to find out here is this eastern cottonwood here. It's not really doing too well, but I'm just kind of confused how it got out here, just because I don't see any others around here. Its seeds, super annoying, very cottony seeds, which is why it's called cottonwood. Especially in like June, July, you'll see them all in the summer blowing down the street. If you live in Burlington, you will know what I mean by the massive amounts of cotton-like seeds that just kind of spawn on the ground in July. I love cottonwood though. These guys can grow really big and really fast. Don't know how well this one will do. It doesn't really look like it's doing too well up there. It looks like there's a lot of dead branches, but really surprised how it got all the way out here, because I don't see any other around. Still cool to find out here, you know, just even one tree of one species makes you wonder how many more there could be out there and kind of really where it came from. Another tree I'm not surprised to find out here is one that belongs to these leaves. Big tooth aspen, which is this guy right here. If you look a little bit higher up, you can see the more white bark. It might be hard to tell with my phone, but big tooth aspen. Bark looks kind of like oak bark when it's older like this. Got those nice furrows going up the trunk. But big tooth aspen, this is probably a pretty old one, just for like its age here. They live fast, die young trees, just like all aspen. Seeds blow in, recolonize an area that was disturbed. which I'm right along the path here. So it makes sense you would find something like an aspen along the path. So there you go, big tooth aspen. Last but not least, we have a friend, the sassafras. Can't leave out my friend, the sassafras. Sassafras, oh my God, it's a tongue twister saying it so many times fast. Such a cool little tree. You won't see them too big a lot of the times. Usually we'll think of them as an understory tree, but they can get pretty large. I've seen some that are 2 to 3 times the size of this guy here. But this is the last tree on our stop, and I'm heading back home now, but just thought I'd include this guy before I leave.